Hi everyone, this is Courtney from Ruby Red Farm. I am here to update you on where on earth we have been, what the future of this channel looks like, how the year went for our farm, and what our plans are going forward. So it is mid-December here in East Central Indiana. Our channel has been doing very well. We have been mysteriously absent though, and so let me start off by explaining where we've been and kind of what led to us taking this 4 to 5 month hiatus that we've been on. We, as you know, we're very busy people. We both work a full-time job. I work slightly less than full-time hours, and my husband works his tail off working full-time and being in the Air Force Reserve. So right in the middle of farmers market season this summer, we ended up kind of prayerfully having to consider whether or not to take in the child of a family member of ours. And we said yes. And so that ended up making me a mother of 3 very quickly. And we have added a toddler to our group. So as you can imagine, if you've had children, it's quite the adjustment going from very independent kiddos down to having a toddler in diapers all over again. This little one is just precious as can be. Her mother actually lived with us for about 1.5 years, and I've always been very close with this family member. Part of the gap that we've taken is that family member of mine has now passed away. She was very sick her whole life, and we are at peace knowing that she's not hurting anymore and that she has moved on to be in the arms of Jesus. Sorry, so hard to talk about it still. We had her memorial this week, and it was a wonderful closure to a very, very hard year for our family. The wonderful, silver lining, as people like to call it, is that we have been absolutely blessed to add this sweet little girl to our family. We're in the process of making things more official. We'll keep all of that relatively private though until it's done. We won't be showing her anytime soon. Cute as she may be, she will not be on the channel for quite a while, if at all. We just want to respect her privacy and her, her mom's privacy. So my kiddos are in heaven. They have a little sibling that they get to love on, and we have, another worker on the farm. At least we will here in, give it about 5 years. She'll be a little more useful around here. But she's just a doll, and we have absolutely loved becoming a family of 5. But as you can imagine, becoming a family of 5 is an absolutely huge adjustment, especially on a farm, and especially in the middle of a working summer where we're running a farmer's market and running a farm. So we had to give some things up, quite frankly. We ended up, I didn't teach any classes this year. I probably won't going forward. Just kind of that season of teaching has passed. We haven't done any track officiating yet this year. We probably won't do very many meets this year at all. I didn't coach this fall. I didn't coach my son's team. I helped coach. I kind of got roped into helping, but I didn't actually coach it, which was, different for me. I've done that for quite a few years now with either one or the other of my kids. So again, I had to sacrifice a lot. And one of the things we had to sacrifice, at least temporarily, was our YouTube channel. So we apologize for just completely vanishing without an explanation. It was for both good and bad reasons, and we hope to return now. So we're planning on trying to come back and put out a video at least every couple of weeks. It might end up being every 3 weeks. It's not going to be nearly as religious as it was because, quite frankly, the editing just takes up too much of my time. And if you're a mom, you know that usually you're the one who takes care of the littles, and so I have a new little that I've got to take care of. So definitely going to be a little bit before we post them super regularly, but we're hoping by spring, once the garden opens back up again, that we'll be able to be a little more consistent with it all. Okay, I'm going to move out of the wind before I freeze to death. Give me 1 second. Well, joke's on me. Our farm's windy no matter where I stand. So let me update you on how our year went here at Ruby Red Farm. We started out strong with a nice big garden. We put out about a half-acre garden this summer, and then the weather had completely other plans for us. So if you live anywhere in the Midwest, you know that it was very hit or miss with rainfall. But here in East Central Indiana, it was also very hit or miss with sunshine, temperature, everything. The weather was very strange this year. So it seemed like we just had either too much rain or not enough rain. They call that, right, a lack of consistent rainfall. And again, it wasn't necessarily because we didn't have enough rainfall. A lot of times it was because we had too much. So it took us 3 tries to get our green beans to sprout. We never did get pole beans to sprout. We didn't even put out pumpkins this year because we were so behind on everything else. So all in all, the garden, it was kind of a C plus B minus kind of a year if you're going to give it a grade. It was just not a good garden year. That was frustrating for me because the garden takes up so much time. But we muddled our way through. I will say the farmer's market from June through mid-October, we took produce every single week, which I'm very proud of. That was a lot for our farm and the level that we're at. We did run the Centerville Farmers Market again this year, and that went overall very well. It was definitely an improvement year over year compared to last year, which was our first year ever. The wonderful news, at least wonderful to me, about the farmers market is that I'm going to be transitioning to someone else running the market. And then this year I will kind of just be their mentor and guide them through any questions that they have, especially about the SNAP process, because that can be very confusing. But essentially, I get to take a step back in my role. This was always the plan, was to run it for just a couple years, maybe 3, and then transition over. And so thankfully someone has stepped up, and with our very weird situation with our family this year, we kind of had that nudge to make that process happen a little bit sooner than maybe I wanted to. But the burden being gone is such a huge relief. I'm so glad that this individual has stepped up, and he'll be amazing. Dare I say better at it than I am. I have no legal background. I have no financial background. I'm a physical therapist, and he has all of that background. So I can very confidently say I think he's going to do a fantastic job at this role and take the market to another level that I'm just not capable of. We will still attend the market next year. We're hoping to not attend quite as often, because if you're keeping track, that was 2 summers in a row that we had to be there every single weekend, no matter what. That does not fit my family very well. We are a very busy bunch, so I'll be thrilled to get to maybe go camping occasionally and work on some projects here on the farm. So farmers market, though, this past summer went really, really well. We have grown our customer base really to a point that we quite frankly can't keep up with the demand, which is a good problem. In other news on our farm, as far as animals went, we only ended up raising 2 hogs this year. We were very late to the game on hogs, partly because of Brandon being gone a little bit this summer, and partly because of the chaos with adding this new family member. We just were way behind. We didn't get butcher dates in time, and we ended up purchasing off of a friend of ours that had 4-H hogs. Our 4-H fair here is at the end of June. And so we got our hogs beginning of July, raised them up. We only ended up butchering those 2, and that'll be hopefully enough to get us through at least a big chunk of next summer's market. But very, very minimal pork this year, hoping to do more like 4 or 5 pigs next year. It's so cold. Okay, as far as poultry goes, so we ended up raising right around 300 meat chickens this year. We had purposely taken a step back on the meat chickens. We did closer to 600 last year. We ended up with way too much chicken. So the market we attend is a lot smaller than the one we used to go to, and there's just not that much demand for the chicken. So we ended up only raising 300. I say only, but I very well know that for a small farm, that's still quite a few chickens. We did them in batches, I believe, of just 75 this year, which made it a little bit easier. We use the butcher, a local Amish butcher, for all of our butchering for the chickens, which just saves us so much time. It takes us an entire day to do 50 birds, and we just didn't have a day to spare. So everything was pre-scheduled, really, really convenient. And we may end up having to raise our prices just a little bit because of that next year. But this year we kind of just let it play out and see where things landed. But overall, thrilled with how our meat chickens turned out. Way better luck with the new feed we switched to. They grew much more efficiently this year, so it was a feed problem. If you're familiar with our channel, we had issues with growth last year, and it was the feed. It was the feed. That was the issue. Now for turkeys, we ended up raising 20 turkeys this year. Brandon cannot stand turkeys, which cracks me up. I think they're hilarious. They are goofy as heck, though. They like to escape, and they eat a lot of food. Now, the great news was this year was the first year we were able to sell every single turkey. In fact, for Thanksgiving, we had one that was in the freezer from a year ago. So that's a great problem. I don't think we'll raise any more, though. I don't think I can bribe Brandon into, raising 30 or anything next year. We'll probably stick right around that 15 to 20 range. That seems to be for our area. We live in a very rural area. Seems to be about all we can sell without advertising it a lot more. We're not interested in doing all that. Now, the other main animal on our farm, and the thing we're probably the most known for, is our laying hens. Our laying hens, right now, we probably have about 175 to 200 laying hens. They move really quickly, so they're kind of hard to count. We have a nice mix of breeds when it comes to the chickens. Most of them are production laying hens. We do have a handful of dual purpose birds, but they still lay eggs, obviously. In the summer this year, we peaked at probably about 15 dozen eggs a day. And this is just us doing this. We do not have an employee or anything. So this was washing 15 dozen eggs a day. We have our porch fridge that we use, still a huge fan of that. And we were able to effectively stay sold out. I don't think I ever had a time where I was begging family members to take our eggs, which is wild with that many eggs. Now, here in the winter, we are, of course, now in the darkest 4 weeks of the year, right here around the winter solstice. And so right now we only get 2 to 3 dozen eggs a day. We're hoping to change that. One of our biggest plans here in the near future is that we're hoping to convert our corn crib on the side of our barn into the winter home for our chickens. Now, this is a huge stray away from what we've always done. We've always just done the chicken tractor thing all winter long. The problem with that, though, well, there's multiple problems with that. The problems with that, one is you got to trudge out in the snow, carry water to a different place throughout the winter, some of which are very far from the house, and that can be a pain. But the biggest problem, in my opinion, is the fact that in Indiana, winter doesn't always mean snow. This is the most snow we've had in years. In Indiana, winter usually means mud. And so when you have all that mud, the coop would end up getting stuck in a place for a few weeks too long, and then it would be nearly impossible to move it. I know you guys, if you've followed our channel, you've seen us struggle with that. We've gotten the tractor stuck before, for crying out loud. Oh, and it's snowing right now. Essentially, instead, the plan is we're gonna get this corn crib all sealed up. It's a nice big space. It's gonna have a feed bunk. It'll be hopefully a lot warmer for the chickens. It'll be a place where we can put a light. They'll be able to hopefully have a little bit more light, so they'll lay a little bit better for us. And with that increased warmth and light, we're hoping to lose fewer birds. While we didn't lose a lot of chickens in the winter, we would lose a handful every couple of weeks, it seemed like, mostly from the cold itself. With them being production hens, they just don't have the fluffiest of feathers, and they don't have a lot of body weight to fall back on. So it never fails in Indiana. There's always at least a couple weeks that dip down into the single digits. And while they're, yes, in theory, made for that, production hens really are not. So I think it'll be good to have them all in one big room. Their body heat will keep that area warm. Then we still will have a door with access to the outside where they'll be able to have their playground of sorts, and we'll rotate that a little bit out from the barn. So it is still going to be a pasture-raised kind of operation. It's just not going to be the chicken tractor in the winter. That'll let us do maintenance on the tractor through the winter as well, which it desperately needs. We still haven't painted the one. We'll be able to get all of that stuff taken care of, and hopefully we'll be able to do it tucked into the barn or somewhere under cover where we can be a little bit shielded from the weather while we're doing our work. Now, as for the farm as a whole, probably the biggest change we're planning on making this next year is we're trying to kind of get it back to more of a homestead feel than a business. Basically try to get back a little more to the original intent of what we created here, which was to really grow a lot of food for ourselves and then sell the extras, as opposed to what it's kind of become the last couple years is produce everything we can to sell it. And when we kind of would skimp on us, I ended up having to buy pasta sauce last summer just because I didn't save enough tomatoes for myself. So that kind of thing. I'm trying to kind of get back to why we started all of this in the first place, trying to get away from the store-bought food, trying to raise our family more outdoors and more connected with nature and just more connected with where their food comes from and having that respect for both the animals and for the work that goes into the garden. So the main changes we're going to be doing to make that happen, we're going to actually be moving the garden just to a slightly different spot in the yard. Now, whether that actually happens or not is TBD, but we're going to try. The other thing we're going to do is we will not be attending the farmer's market every single week. As I mentioned earlier, we'll probably be going about 3 weeks a month, maybe only 2 a month occasionally, depending on what we have to sell. And so instead, we're hoping actually to open more of a farm stand right here on the farm. And so that'll be a fun project that we'll show you guys as we do that. We may end up totally selling out and just buying a prefab shed and then sprucing it up and making it our own. I know that feels like cheating, especially since Brandon can build things. We'll see how we feel when spring rolls around. But no matter what we do, I'm gonna make it cute. We're gonna put some kind of a self-serve farm stand in that can then eventually serve us for the whole year, hoping to add more baked goods to my product line. I absolutely love baking. Was able to do a little bit of bread and brownies and things this summer that I just really enjoy that. And again, I love being home and in the kitchen. As cliche as that is, I just love it. Hoping to kind of expand what I make and what I sell to the public, but at the same time, expanding it while staying here and being home and present more. I feel very, very called as the mom of this family to be here for my kiddos and be here with my kiddos. And they'll still go to public school and I'm still going to work, but just scaling back how much I put myself out there so that I can be here more and be present, and just reconnect both with my family, with God, with just who I feel like I was supposed to be that I've kind of drifted away from in the hustle and bustle of being things for other people. And again, nothing wrong with that, but it certainly was exhausting, and I'm ready to rest for a little while here. The biggest news of all that I didn't share earlier on why we kind of took a break is the fact that Brandon has actually been gone for 10 weeks now. So I have been single momming it effectively for 10 weeks. He was able to come home on the weekends, which was fantastic, but he's been at tech school for his officer program that he did last year. He's finally able to go and get his tech school training for civil engineering. And so thank goodness that was just at Wright Pat, which is less than an hour away from us. He was able to visit, help me out on the farm quite a bit in that time, but he will be home. And we are so, so happy to be a two-parent family again, because remember all that stuff I mentioned about having a toddler? Yeah, I've been doing a lot of that by myself. So I'm exhausted. I'm so grateful he's almost home, and it's almost Christmas, and I absolutely love Christmas. So hopefully I'll be able to get a little more in the holiday spirit now that I won't be drowning in laundry. At least not quite as much. But yes, him being gone was also a huge, huge chunk of why this YouTube channel took a big pause. We are back. We hope to stay back. We love, love, love doing this for the public, I guess, for you guys. I really enjoy just chatting through what we're doing here on the farm. I think it motivates me a lot when I have videos to make. And again, I never want to lie and pretend I know something that I don't know. So I try to research things relatively well before I ever dare talk about them, which helps me grow and learn, which I really, really enjoy. Otherwise, if you've made it this long, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting our channel. Please feel free to go back and check out our old videos. We put a ton of work into those. The editing takes a ton of time, so please go watch them. Make it worth my while. I hope you all have enjoyed this. I can't wait to share more with you guys coming up in the next couple of months. And above all else right now, I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Have a Merry Christmas with your family. Hopefully you can find a church home, spend some time learning about Jesus coming to earth and doing it for us. Thank you all again for watching. This is Courtney from Ruby Red Farm. I'm going to go get some work done now that I'm freezing, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day.